Seek out the best. 2 words to describe the activity. The Yoruba Unity Forum is conducted.
Be the first to know. From the north, south, east, west, and around Africa, we break the news. Now you can catch all the actions live as the news breaks. We are Core TV News.
Welcome to Core TV Primetime
Our
News.
24-hour news station.
Glad to have you back on Core Digest once again. Well, this time around we'll be taking a look at the ending impunity of crimes against journalists. The matter is arising. But then, according to a report issued by the Committee to Protect Journalists, 90% of journalist murders across the world gets away with it. And the same report says over 370 journalists murdered in past 10 years. That's according to that report. But to end this inhumanity against journalists, the United Nations General Assembly at its 60th session decided to set November 2 every year as an International Day to end impunity for crimes against journalists with a view to strengthening peace, democracy, and development worldwide. That's exactly what the world is celebrating and marking all over the world today. Joining us in the studio live to talk about this, Bubakaro Babatude, a journalist, is with me in the studio. Thank you for joining us on Core Digest.
Thank you very much.
Now, let's start this way. What's the rate at that we are today in this part of the world when it comes to crimes against journalists all over the world? What's your assessment of that?
Well, it has also been a very difficult situation for journalists all over the world. And in the past decades, a man named Nicola Machiavelli said the best way to deal with press hostility is to kill all the pressmen. That was so many years back, decades ago. And it has always been like that all over the world, because of the position of journalists as being the fourth realm of the, as been described by the former U.S. president, as the fourth realm of the estate, that they are the protector of the common man. You know, the elite and those who are in the government, they see journalists as being a threat to, especially those who are not ready to serve the people. So they see journalists as a threat to them, as the kind of people that want to expose their anomaly. So because of this, they tend to find a ways of eliminating this group of people who are journalists. All over the world, it has always been like that. Many have been killed, as has been said that about 6% of those cases have been resolved. That is over 94% has not been resolved all over the world. Those have been killing have been killed. Just as you have said that about 370 people have been killed. So few of them, some of the cases have been resolved. And the point is that all over the world, the government, they see pressmen. That is those government that are not of the people. So you see government, the press has been a pressure group that tend to start them to do the right thing. And most of these governments, those who are in government, don't want to do the right thing. That is the problem.
Okay, but with this resolution adopted by United Nations, and which Nigeria is signatory to, Nigeria is a member of the United Nations,
okay,
and other nations as well, what is your assessment of compliance, with this resolution all over the world to putting an end to crimes against journalists?
It's just about the political will to do it. If they want to do it, they know how to do it. Our legislators are very, very important in this area. If they can legislate that, in our constitution, especially in the Nigerian constitution today, we have problem with our constitution in Nigeria, because the freedom of spread is enshrined in our constitution really. But then when you look at the constitution itself, it is defective. Why it give right? I will give one right in the right hand and take the one from the left, because in our constitution, the freedom of press is not so well established in such a way that the press could do much in the circumstance. But if you have the political will by the government of the day, especially the legislators, if you can legislate that whoever kill or do something wrong to the journalists, so to be done to such people, then we are going to have a headway. And apart from that, the judiciary are also part of it. Those who are being brought to the court for these kind of things, the judiciary, I think they should kickstart and fine-tune the way of doing much in, dealing with the cases, those cases that they have in their hands.
Okay, apart from the cases they have at hand at the moment, maybe crime against journalists, the press, and all of that, is there any advocacy group that will push for or that will ensure that there is a law enacted or in place to ensure a protection or the protection of journalists while going about his or her duty?
Yeah, we have so many organizations. We have Nigeria Union of Journalists that have been trying to do much for the men of the press. But then there's less thing they can do, because if there's no legislative way, as in the legislators, they are not in government, they are just pressure group that have been trying to do this. But doing this is not enough. The thing is, if our legislators can just have a law backing the journalists, they will be able to do their work very, very well. There have been NGOs and so many other people, apart from the Nigerian Union of Journalists, that have been doing this. We have the human rights who are also journalists. We have so many associations that have been trying to put this thing in order. But then the political will is the most important thing, which we are still talking about. If the government of the day is ready, then we don't have problem.
Okay, you talk about legislature, if they can put things in place. What about if they don't even see the importance of, putting that in place to ensure the protection? Should there be, or don't you think there should be a group that will say, okay, we need to push for this. Let the legislative arms of government look at this. That's exactly what I'm talking about. If they are not looking in that direction.
Yes.
What is the body of journalists in Nigeria doing to ensure that, okay, the legislative arms of government, the attention is brought to looking at this issue now, that the work of journalism is very, very important.
Yes, they have already been doing that. And also, I will say that the people generally should know the work of journalists, and they should help in this direction. Most of these people have been voted into the legislative arms by the people. So if we know that the journalists are protecting the people, then definitely we will find a way of going through the normal process of calling our people that are in the legislative arm of the government to do something about it. Though the Nigerian journalists, as I've said before, have been trying their best, and I think we had a headway when the law was promulgated recently by the Jonathan administration about the press freedom. Then it was there. But then we still have much to be, there is still much to be done in this area, whereby those who are press people, they will be protected. And recently even though the Jonathan government did some things about the military government, military personnel seized some of the newspapers while they were going to the northern part of the Nigeria. These people were just doing their normal duty. But in the course of their duty, I think those things were done, even though by the so-called civilian government of Jonathan. So it is very, very unfortunate. But I think it's all about the political will. We have been having it so bad during the military junta. But now that we are in the democratically elected, democratic government, we should have more of that by our government.
Okay, how you talk about freedom of press, and I remember that there was a time that we're looking at, the National Assembly was looking at Freedom of Information Bill, which
FYB.
Yeah. Now, what happened to that bill at this time?
Yes, the bill
has it been tested? Are we having it tested all over?
Yes, the bill have been passed, and well, somehow the issue of FOI bill have generated a lot of controversies all over. Then you look at the press recently; it's not as it used to be.
Okay.
A little bit better than before, but still we need to do more about it. But FOI bill have been tested, and I think somehow the press has been free a little bit more than what it used to be during the military
How much
era.
of freedom do the press have now? How much of freedom does journalists have now?
Yeah, I think I've been criticizing all over when you look at the newspapers and look at the news we have today compared to what we used to have before, where newspapers will be going high. I mean, the journalists were hiding themselves before they could publish the story. But it's not like that now. When you look at the headlines, you see the criticism of the government, and you know nothing is being done these days, but not like before. Now we have more of the freedom than what we used to have before because of the democratic setting. You could see whereby the Jonathan is being lambasted or so on. You have some headlines that criticize government. You know, we still have them in place without being molested or whatever in their course of duties. The journalists, I mean.
Okay, let's look at the issue of few journalists were being killed. We have, I remember the editor, I'm sure the deputy editor of one newspaper, is it the Daily Telegraph or something, sometimes ago, was killed, and we have record of that. A lot of them who have been killed at the course of doing their job.
Yeah.
Now, how do we ensure that some of these people get justice for the deaths they just died? We remember that, okay, some of the, I remember an American journalist, James Foley, that was murdered by an Islamic state militant in August 2014. But then, I'm sure that he got attention.
Okay.
The American government gave him attention, the necessary attention that he deserved. But here we have people who were just killed, were just, hunted down and were killed. What are we doing to ensure that they get justice?
And there were so many issues. The issue of Delegawa is still hanging there. It has not been resolved till now. Chief Ganifa tried as much as possible to prosecute the case, but up to now we don't have it. There's the issue of Bagada Kato, who was bombed in Kaduna, in a hotel room because of the write-up, something like that. So the thing is, when you look at our government, it's just about the political will to do it. And I think during the Obasanjo regime, there was a Puta panel,
okay,
which Chief Ganiwa tried to brought the issue of Delegiwa out, but then it was killed while he was trying to establish the case. So it is about the elites, our elite in Nigeria, especially in Nigeria, who have been trying to suppress the press because of their personal interests, getting into power and trying to model the journalists who are trying to do their job in the course of their job. Now political things is coming out again. As a journalist, if you try to write something positive about something, they will like that. But immediately you start writing something negative, then you have a problem with them. So to try to harass you, there are so many ways that they do that. They harass you, you have phone calls, threats, and all those kind of things. And some journalists have been maimed, and some have been killed, as you have said. So, but the thing is, the people as well, we need to wake up and try to help those who are helping us. Because for me, the journalists are the ones that are helping the people.
All right.
They are the voice of the people. So we, as people, we should try as much as possible to vote, or to vote those who are going to the government, the credible people that are going to the government. We should vote them into power. That is the way I see it. But for now, as it is now, we still have money bags in Nigeria, whereby if you don't have money, you cannot even contest an election. For example, the issue of presidency, now I learned that the General Buhari had to borrow money before he can contest. You understand? But then, if we can, as people, try as much as possible to bring those who are positive-minded into power, then we are going to have the problem solved.
You talk about issue of writing something positive and negative against politicians ahead of 2015. Do a journalist just sit down to write something positive or just negative about someone who is contesting?
It's about objectivity. You write what you see, what you think is right, but then the person you are writing about, it now depends on the angle which he or she look at it.
Okay.
Because as a journalist, you are just doing your job objectively, but then it could be negative on that person, and it could be positive. So it now depends on where the story lies.
Okay.
That is it.
Okay, let's look at this. UN plan of action on safety for journalists was also adopted in that resolution.
Yeah.
Now, do we have any plan at this moment in Nigeria that will bring the attention to the plight of journalists, that this is what the UN say? You are a member of the United Nations. Yeah. You are a member. So what are you doing? Do we have any plan like that by the body, by the press body in Nigeria, to bring government attention and look at and say, this is a plan, you know, UN plan of action on safety for journalists, we need to look at it. And they include, let me read it out, the plan of action which is aimed to create a free and safe environment for journalists and media workers, you know, both in conflict and non-conflict situation, with a view to strengthen, you know, peace, democracy, and development. Do we have such master plan by the press body?
Yes, for now, if you look at the resolution, it was all done, I think, last year.
Okay.
It's very, very young. And the Nigerian Union of Journalists are still looking at that, the way they are going to go about it, so that the Nigerian government will also get involved, because we are signatory into that in the UN. So they are still looking at that area whereby they will take those issues to the government of the day. So the process is still going on, it's ongoing.
Okay, let's talk about the insurance in Nigeria. I met a friend of mine who is a very good writer, a journalist, and he was lamenting and said, okay, journalists don't have insurance in Nigeria. Why is that?
Well, it depends
because abroad, we see where they pay them, every journalist is insured, both his family, in terms of health and all of that. But why don't we have such?
Yeah, even talking about insurance, what about the take home? Most of the journalists they take very little money, as in regard the emoluments and salary whatsoever. So talking about salary, well, we are not there at all in terms of taking care of the journalists. And you know, some journalists are even owe a lot of money, arrears, 3-4 months arrears. So it is the problem of the proprietors of the newspapers or whatever, or media houses. They don't see media, and that is why you have problem of issue of brown paper something. That is why you have a bit of objectivity not being taken care of, because a journalist who is hungry and now go to a politician who is money bags. If he's over for a bribe and the person that is very hungry, what do you think will happen? So it is the proprietor, the owners of the media houses that is having they make so much money, and the journalists are not taking much. Talking about the insurance is even far away from it. The enormous emolument is not being given to the journalists.
But don't you think it's necessary, as well, if we talk about development, you must see the Nigerian media industry move forward. Don't you think we need to take a look at this at this time? Yes,
we do need to take care of it. But then, established newspaper in Nigeria today, if you don't have money, there's no way you can establish a newspaper. Okay. So most of the people the owners of the newspapers, they are money bags, and you know, because of that, they kind of manipulate the situation. So there's no way one could, because for now, government media houses are not much. Okay. So we have the owners are just private owners, and they see it as a business something. So if you cannot stay there, you have to go. That is the issue.
Okay. There are also thoughts or calls from different quarters that government needs to create, not just create now, provide resources and provide support for journalists in Nigeria. And the other argument says, no, if government start providing resources, that means that They might be compromised. Yeah. Exactly. What are your thoughts on all of that? Do you think they should be independent? And if they're really independent, where do they get their, how do they get the source or what the source of funding from?
Yes, I do not support that government should give them, should provide such. Because if government do that, then the issue of objective will be tested.
Okay.
You won't be able to write against the government, whoever pay the pipe has dictate the tunes. And even though the owners of the newspapers, when you look at their interests, sometimes you see most of the media houses, most of them have politicians who own newspapers.
Okay.
And where you work in such media houses, it is very, very difficult for you to write against the interests of your boss. So talking about government, if government now sponsors, then it will be very, very difficult for you to write against such government. When you look at the NTA, for example, the issue of objectivity, when you look at their news, it is very, very difficult for you to see news that will be against the government, federal government of Nigeria, for example, or those state-owned stations. But now, thank God that we have media houses like Core TV that is independent.
Okay.
So here, you can publish, you can talk about things objectively. But if government now start giving Core TV some amount of money, it will be very, very difficult for you now to say, they are the one that is giving us money, then can we start talking against them or writing something against them? It's very, very difficult for that to happen. So I do not support that. But what I see is the proprietors of the newspaper, they should do more for their employee in terms of emoluments and trying to send them to course abroad and all those stuff. And the issue of insurance that you just brought about is very, very important, because journalism is a very, very dangerous, especially when it's deal with the big and mighty in the society. When you have to write against such people, it's very, very difficult, dangerous. And you know, we all have families and all that.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
The issue of insurance is very, very important, and other things.
Okay, Abubakar, let's look at what's your assessment of the Nigerian media vis-a-vis, you know, the military era and the democracy. I'm sure 15 years of democracy, I guess, in Nigeria. So how would you, you know, rate the two?
Yeah, it is better than what we used to have before. Like I said before, it is during the military era, the issue of Decree 4 was there, whereby you dare not write against the government of the day. And for now, at least journalists are more freer to write and to criticize the government of the day, unlike what we used to have. During Abacha regime, we had some journalists being killed. And even though a journalist was rubbish into a coup d'etat, Messiah or something like that, so many years back, whereby she was jailed before Chief Ganifa came to rescue. So many things. But now we have more freer society where journalists can practice better than what we used to have when during the military junta.
Oh, okay, let's look at the role of you know, journalism now in nation building. Let's look at some of this. What are some of these roles that? How do you think a journalist or journalism will better add in the development of our nation?
Well, the most important thing as a journalist is the interest of the people is very, very important. We look at what people want and the need of the society in the nation building. We have to criticize government where it needs be. And where there is a good government, we need to also talk about them objectively and praise them in such area. If we do this, we go a long way in having a very better society.
Then again, that also reminds me, coming back to what you said earlier, the issue of brown envelope and objectivity and all of that. A lot of us say that we have a lot of quacks in the industry.
Yes.
How do we take care of these?
Yes, it also depends on the proprietors of the newspapers and the organization of the media houses, where anybody that can write can just be taken as a journalist.
Okay.
We have ethics that we must follow. Most of these ethics are being taught in schools, those who went to school of journalism. So, but these days you have people that can just write something, then they are journalists and they start reporting. So I think the organizations, that is the media organization, need to look into this, and the union, NUJ, because if you are not a lawyer, it's not very, very easy for you, maybe a philosopher, to just put on a gun and start going to court.
All right.
It's not possible for you to do that. So journalists and likewise teachers, I think they are almost the same thing in Nigeria. Anybody can just go to school and teach. And now in journalism as well, you can just write, then you can start writing. And people, I mean, the organization just take you and you become a reporter. So these have brought a lot of, even though the issue of the killings and all these things, it is because some of these so-called journalists are not trained. So because they are not trained, it makes them go beyond their boundary. Talking about the ethics of journalists, they don't know all this, they don't learn this in
Let's
school.
look at some of these ethics of journalism. Yeah. What are some of these ethics of journalism to ensure that there is professionalism in the industry?
Yeah, like the issue of objectivity, you have to be objective in whatever you are reporting. Okay. But because some people, once they are broke, they just get some amount of money, then they start writing, I mean, to support such candidate or whatever, the person that you're talking about. Then you look at plagiarism. You have so many ethics that you must follow. But then some people are not trained and they don't know about all these ethics. So they just start practicing without any cost.
And so is there any plan on ground to distinguish those who are not professional, those who are not even trained, with those who are trained? It
is very difficult. This is why it's very difficult in Nigeria, is because media ownership, as we all know, that it is for individuals, it's like a business. Like, for example, I don't know whether the court TV has the director or whatever, the chairman. So it is very, very difficult for NUG, for example, to come here and say, okay, who are trained journalists and who are not trained journalists. So it's very, very difficult. It's like you own your school. Like I said, it's like teacher. When you look at the private school these days, you're a proprietor of a school, then you employ teachers.
All right.
So NUT cannot come to you and say, okay, you cannot employ so people. That is the difficulty.
Well, just before we go, just give us your parting word. Let's look at the whole media industry. What better approach should we take as a people to ensure that, okay, we have, you know, this industry put in place in the next 5-10 years to become a developed, you know, sector of the economy?
Yeah, I will call on the government of the day to have a political will to do what is right for the people. Because talking about the media, we are the voice of the people, voice of the voiceless. And the media owners also, I will call on them to do the right thing as well. They don't look at this as core business as well. They should look at it as serving the people, not only making money from whatever establishment organization they are having. So they should employ the right people to the right places. Then we are going to be a very, very, because in Nigeria for today we have very good journalists.
Okay.
You know, that can do the right thing. But then the media organization owner, media owners are the impediment and the government of the day. If government of the day have the political will to do the right thing, definitely we are going to be a very, very a good committee of nation as a journalist and media organizations.
Well, thank you very much, Abubakar Babatunde, for coming on the show. Abubakar Babatunde is a journalist, and he's been with me in the studio, been looking at ending impunity of crimes against journalists, the matters arising. And of course, you know, like I said earlier, that UN set the day aside to actually mark that date, ending impunity, crimes and attacks against journalists. Thank you for coming once again.
Right,
well, this is where we call it off for today. Many thanks for watching. I am Frank Omalape, and top of the hour coming up, 8 news. Bye for now.
From time immemorial, women have birthed life, shaped character, and by extension, influenced the society. Moremi of Ife, Emoten of Benin, Queen Aminat of Zaria, all women of influence and power.
Whether it's before election, after election.
How ironical. Women being so powerful yet have few grounds in decision making.
They see you as weak, and I see you as a wife to a man.
We are talking women in politics.
A woman will be bold enough to stand up and say, I want to become president of Nigeria.
Only on Core TV News.
Core TV News, expanding your view. You can now watch Core TV News live from anywhere in the world on our website www.coretvnews.com. Click on Live TV on our website and watch us live.
And welcome to Core TV Primetime Days.
To follow us on Twitter, click on Twitter icon on our website. On Facebook, click on the Facebook and YouTube to see all our previous news production. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Click Core TV, leave a space, then News. Core TV News, a 24-hour news station.